boys and girls. We're back for our last installment of our chapter book we've been reading, Magic Treehouse, book number 20, Dingoes at Dinner Time by Mary Pope Osborne. Thank you, Scholastic, for permission to read this book. We left off on chapter 8, The Rainbow Serpent. The mother kangaroo bounded out of the trees. She landed 10 feet away from Jack, Annie, Teddy, and Joey. They all were still for a moment, as if they all were holding their breath. Then Joey tried to jump out of Jack's backpack. "Hold on," said Jack. He put his pack on the ground. The little kangaroo leaped out. He leaped again, and dived headfirst into his mother's pouch. Joey turned himself over inside the pouch. Then he peeked out at Jack and Annie. "Yay!" said Jack and Annie together. They laughed and clapped with relief. "He looks happy to be home," said Annie. "His mother looks happy too," said Jack. The mother kangaroo was gazing down at her Joey. She patted his head with her small paws. Then she looked at Jack and Annie with soft eyes. "She's saying thank you to us," Annie said. "You're welcome," Jack said. "It was no problem," Annie told the kangaroo. "You have a great Joey." The kangaroo gave a little nod. Then she bent over and used a front paw to pick up a small piece of bark from the wet grass. The kangaroo held the piece of bark out to Jack and Annie. Jack took it from her. "Oh, man," he whispered. "It's our gift from a kangaroo." The kangaroo then sprang into the air. She bounded gracefully away through the charred forest. "Thanks," called Jack. "Bye," called Annie. "Good luck." "Arf, arf," Teddy barked. The rain stopped as Jack studied the piece of bark. There was a tiny painting on it. It was just like the snake painting in the cave. "I wonder what the snake means," said Jack. Jack opened the wet cover of the Australia book. He carefully turned the damp pages. He found a picture of the snake painting. "Listen," said Jack. He read, "The first people of Australia are called Aborigines. They have lived there for thousands of years. Their myth takes place in a time they call dream time. In dream time, there is a rainbow serpent who sends life-giving rain. Aborigine artists paint the rainbow serpent on cave walls or on pieces of bark. In special ceremonies, they sometimes honor the rainbow serpent by painting their handprints on the magic snake." "See," said Annie, "that explains everything." "Explains what?" said Jack. "We put our hands on the painting of the rainbow serpent," she said. "It was like a special ceremony. So the rainbow serpent sent the rain to put out the wildfire." "Arf!" Teddy barked. Jack frowned. "But it's not a real creature," he said. "It's in dream time, not real time." Annie smiled. "Then how do you explain that?" she said. She pointed at the sky. The rain clouds were gone. The sun had come back out. A rainbow curved across the blue Australian sky. "Oh, man," whispered Jack. Though the air was warm again, he shivered. "Teddy led us to the painting," said Annie. "We should thank him." "How did he know about the rainbow serpent in the cave?" Jack asked. "I told you," said Annie. "He has a touch of magic." They looked down at the little dog. Teddy tilted his head and seemed to smile. "Hey, we have all 4 gifts now," said Annie. "Oh, yeah," said Jack. "Let's go home and see if Teddy's spell is broken," said Annie. "Arf, arf!" Jack put the bark painting and the Australia book in his pack. Then they all headed through the wet, steamy forest in the direction of the treehouse. "I hope the treehouse didn't get burned," he said. They went past the clearing, past the gum tree and bushes. The treehouse was waiting for them. "It's still here," said Annie. She grabbed the rope ladder and started up. Jack put Teddy in his pack and followed. Inside the treehouse, Teddy wiggled out of the pack. He pawed the Pennsylvania book. "Arf, arf!" Okay, said Jack. He pointed at a picture of the Frog Creek woods. "I wish we could go there." "Over the rainbow," said Annie. And the wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still. Chapter 9. What boy? "Welcome back," came a soft, lovely voice. Jack opened his eyes. It was Morgan. They hadn't seen Morgan in a long time. "Morgan!" cried Annie. She threw her arms around the enchantress. Jack jumped up and hugged Morgan too. "It's good to see you both," said Morgan. "Arf, arf!" "And it's good to see you too," Morgan said, smiling at the little dog. "Look," said Annie. She reached into Jack's pack and pulled out the piece of painted bark, a gift from a kangaroo. "We have all 4 gifts now," said Jack. "Good work," said Morgan. She picked up their first gift. It was the pocket watch from the Titanic. Once upon a time, there was a boy who wasted time, Morgan said. This watch teaches him that time is very precious. It must be used wisely. Morgan picked up their second gift, the eagle's feather from the Lakota Indians. Sometimes the boy was afraid to stand up for himself, she said. The eagle's feather teaches him that a small creature can be one of the bravest. Morgan picked up the lotus flower from the forest in India. Sometimes the boy did not respect nature, she said. This flower teaches him that nature holds many wonders. Morgan picked up the piece of bark with the painting of the rainbow serpent. Sometimes the boy didn't want to study other times and places, she said. This painting teaches him there's mystery, magic, and wisdom in the traditions of ancient peoples. What boy? Jack asked. Who are you talking about? Asked Annie. Morgan didn't answer right away. She placed her hands on Jack's and Annie's shoulders. Thank you, she said, for helping this boy learn his lessons. Thank you for breaking the spell. What boy? Jack asked again. Arf, arf, arf! Jack and Annie looked over at Teddy. Then something magical happened. In a flutter of time, in the spin of a whirlwind, Teddy was changed. He was no longer a dog. He was a boy. Chapter 10, Dream Time. The boy was on the ground on his hands and knees. Meet my young helper from Camelot, said Morgan. The boy glanced up. He had a friendly freckled face and twinkling dark eyes. His hair was the same color that Teddy's fur had been. He looked a bit older than Jack, about 10 or so. Am I back? He asked. You're back, said Morgan. The boy leaped up and hugged her. Thank you, he cried. And I hope next time you'll ask before trying the spells in my spell book, said Morgan. The boy grinned sheepishly. I promise. Then he looked at Jack and Annie. I accidentally changed myself into a dog, he said. Annie laughed. But at least I got to have exciting adventures as a dog, he said. You were a great dog, said Annie. We liked you as Teddy. What's your real name? If you like, you can keep calling me Teddy, the boy said, or how about Ted? Okay, Ted, said Annie. Jack just smiled. He was still in shock. Ted is training to work in my library at Camelot, said Morgan. He has a rare gift for magic. Cool, said Annie. You helped us a lot, Ted, said Jack, finally finding his voice. Oh, no, it was both of you who helped me, said Ted. You helped me break the spell, and I found new stories to take home. You did? Said Annie. Ted nodded. The story of the Titanic, the story of White Buffalo Woman, the story of the wounded tiger, and the story of the rainbow serpent, he said. I'll write them down as soon as I get home, so people can read them in Morgan's library. And home is where we must go now, I'm afraid, said Morgan. Oh, said Annie sadly. That's too bad. Yeah, said Jack. He was sad, too. I know we will meet again someday, said Ted. I hope so, said Jack. Me too, said Annie. Bye. She started down the ladder. Jack pulled on his pack with a heavy heart. He followed. When they got to the ground, they looked up. Morgan and Ted were at the window. They both seemed to glow in the late afternoon light. The magic treehouse will return for you soon, said Morgan. I promise. She waved and they waved back. Goodbye, Jack and Annie, she said. Arf, said Ted. In a flutter of time, in the spin of a whirlwind, the magic treehouse was gone. For a long moment, Jack and Annie stared at the empty tree. Ready for dinner? Annie asked softly. Jack nodded. He felt dazed as they walked silently through the Frog Creek woods. When they came to their street, the sun was setting. A flock of blackbirds flew through the silvery pink sky. Annie broke their silence as they headed for their house. We had great adventures with Ted, didn't we, she said. Yeah, said Jack. It was like, he searched for the right words. Like living in Dreamtime, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. He smiled. That was exactly what it was like. Well, boys and girls, I want to challenge you to do a little work in your journal. I would like you to pick one of the lessons that our boy Ted had to learn from the story, and I would like you to draw a picture and write about it. So if we look back to what he had to learn, one of his lessons he had to learn was that time is precious. So if you want, you could draw something you're doing in this special time with your family when you have to be together more. How precious it is. That went with the watch from the Titanic. Or you could go with the eagle feather from the Lakota Indians that Jack and Annie received to remind us to be brave and stand up for ourselves. You could draw a picture about a way you could do that. Or if you want to draw the white lotus flower from India and think about respecting nature, writing about some wonderful things in nature and wonders all around us. Or if you want to go with the rainbow serpent, you could show the piece of bark or the rainbow serpent, and you could think about traditions of our people, of ancient people from other times. And that would be something your family could talk over with you, and you could do some extra research. And at the back of this book, you could go and research some things about Australia. I would suggest you can go on Pebbles Go and maybe research kangaroos or dingoes or the kookaburra or the koala bear. And that would be a nice little challenge for you. Until next time, enjoy the story.